Hey guys, Ziss here again. Today we're gonna go over my Embermage build. Since I'm playing Hardcore Elite, this build focuses more on survivability than damage, but you're still gonna be able to dish out a lot of damage, so... In the stat points I put 3 focus, 1 vitality and 1 dexterity each level. I wanna have the focus up for mana regen and damage, but also keep up with the vitality and dexterity for gear requirements and some more survivability. If you're gonna play hardcore, I'd recommend to go with a one hand and a shield. I'm using a wand and the chance to block it's very necessary in hardcore and it's gonna save you a lot of times. If you're playing softcore, you're probably better off going with a staff and staff mastery passive, because it helps a lot on higher levels. When you're gearing up, make sure you have as much health and stat points as possible on your gear. And if you're able to find any gear with damage reduction, use it. As you can see here, I have a lot of attribute bonuses on my items. This way I have almost twice the amount of stat points on my character, which really helps a lot. If you have a high number of attribute points, you're gonna be able to equip higher level items, and if you're playing hardcore like me, every upgrade is gonna count, so make sure to keep them as high as possible. For my spell scrolls, I'm using armor expertise to improve my physical armor, heal self for an extra heal whenever needed. Elemental protection gives an extra boost to your armors, and for the moment I'm using elemental overload for some extra damage, but I'm gonna switch this one out to blocking whenever I find it. I've been really unlucky and I haven't found it so far, but it's very important, so I'll use it whenever I find it. Our first skill is Icy Blast. It freezes enemies, immobilizes targets, and we're only gonna take 5 points on this because it's all we need. Tier 1 bonus reduces enemy damage by 20%, which is a huge reduction. Our next spell is Hailstorm. This is our best AoE attack. We're gonna max this one out to 15 points. It has a chance to stun targets, a chance to freeze targets, and it also increases damage we do to targets. The main use for this is just spamming entire rooms with a lot of damage, stunning everybody. And you can also use it to cast it down from ledges and also up over ledges into the next room. So you can pretty much clear a room before you even enter it, which is really good for hardcore. It's great for kiting and overall just a great spell. Our next spell is Frost Phase. We're just gonna take 1 point on this spell because it's all we need. We only really need it for running away, getting out of sticky situations. You can teleport wherever you point your cursor. It can be pretty tricky to jump over walls and stuff, so be careful when you're using it near corners and walls and everything. Try to teleport to an open area. We're gonna max out Elemental Boon. Gives you a great buff, increases your damage and reduces your damage taken. It also has really good tier bonuses, which lets you resist slowing effects and immobilization effects. Also increases your mana recharge and your cast speed at higher levels. This one is gonna be really helpful. You should try to keep this spell active as much as you possibly can. Frost Wave is our main damage spell. It sends out waves of frost across the floor and has a chance to freeze enemies, and it gives damage over time. As we get more levels in this skill, we're gonna gain more waves and faster speed of the waves, so give this 15 points since it's gonna be one of our main spells. You can send it towards walls and around corners because the waves bounce off surfaces and just fills the entire room. In combination with Hailstorm, this gives some really deadly AoE attacks for us. Our last active spell is Ice Prison. It creates a circle of ice blocks which blocks enemy movements and projectile spells and everything. So you can create choke points with this, throw it down in a tight corridor or something, and block every enemy and just spam your spells through the prison. At later levels, everybody that's trapped in the prison will receive damage over time as well, so we're gonna max this spell out. If you're using a staff, you should definitely max out Staff Mastery. It's a great skill and it becomes really powerful on higher levels, but since we're using Shield, we're not gonna take any points in it. Frozen Fate is a great spell. I'm just taking 1 point. Gives a 20% chance to immobilize targets around any target you kill. Can be really powerful, and I'm not really gonna take more points, but you could if you want to. Ice Brand, we're gonna max this one out. When you hit a frozen enemy, you do an additional burst of ice damage. And since most of our active spells have freeze chance, this one gives a lot of extra DPS. Also have 1 point in Prismatic Rift. Gives you a small chance to teleport enemies away when they hit you. This one isn't really necessary to build up, but yeah, it can be pretty good. 1 Chaos, try this one out, I don't really like it. Gives a random effect sometimes when you hit people with your wand, but on higher levels, when you get your mana management up, you're not gonna use your wand very much anyway. Charge Mastery increases your charge rate and also decreases the decay rate of charge. This one is great if you have a couple of points over. I also have 1 point in Elemental Attunement. I just put 1 point in this one for the 1 second increase in freeze duration, and you can put more points if you want to. So here's just some footage of me playing. As you can see, I'm using Hailstorm to safely pick off enemies from a distance and just trying to avoid everything that's happening all the time. The most important part to stay alive in Elite is probably just to run away from all spells and everything. You can dodge pretty much anything in the game by just moving around a lot, making sure to keep yourself away from all the projectiles and everything. So, well, you can see here I'm doing a decent amount of damage with Hailstorm and Frost Wave combined. Overall, this is a really good build for keeping yourself defensive while still doing a pretty good amount of damage. And here I'm fighting the Alchemist, and it's the final phase. And this video shows pretty good how important it is to just keep moving, running around, dodging all the spells, and you know, just not letting anything hit you, because if it does, it really hurts. I'm just running around using my teleport to get away if things turn ugly, and using Hailstorm to try to pick him off from a distance, and just using Frost Wave whenever I have a couple of seconds to stand still. You see, I took a fair amount of damage there from standing still too long. So make sure to keep moving and just don't put yourself in a situation you can't get out of. Keep your back clear at all times, and you should be fine. That's it for this time, guys. I hope you enjoyed this guide, and if you have any feedback or suggestions or anything like that, just leave a comment. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you wanna help us out, and I'll see you next time.